Welcome to TARTLEcast with your hosts Alexander McKegg and Jason Rigby, where humanity steps into the future and source data defines the path.
Alex.
Jason, was NuWave, was that like the 80s?
Yes, yeah, that's what I was going to mention, yeah. So, it was like a NuWave. It was The Cure.
Yeah, and who else had the hat? They were like tiered hat.
Oh, yeah, that was Shot the Radio Star.
Oh, my god.
Yeah, 80s. It's not Diplo. I'm thinking Diplo.
Yeah, I want to say
New,
Diplo.
Yeah.
It starts with...
But it's something like that. We'll think of it here. I know people will be commenting on it. So, NuWave Solutions acquires Big Bear. Now, that sounds weird. Like a NuWave, and then who's Big Bear?
Yeah, what is this?
Yeah, and I want to explain what NuWave is real quick, and then I want you to talk about this. NuWave Solutions is a leading provider of data management, advanced analytics, artificial intelligence, cloud solutions, and technologies to the federal government. It is announced today that it acquired Big Bear, a leading provider of cloud-based big data analytics. So this is all cloud-based big data solutions to the national security community within the U.S. government. Terms of the transaction were not disclosed.
Yeah, of course, because it was a fat amount of money using the defense budget. So Big Bear, what they were doing is they were working on how is it that we continue to do advanced analytics with very sensitive information in a cloud environment and keep it secure. That's it. That's all they did. The government's worried. It's like, okay, if we put sensitive information in the cloud,
Right.
very sensitive information that may affect national security, whatever that information might be, how can you guarantee us with the least amount of risk possible that nobody's going to be able to hack into this or there's going to be some sort of leak? And that's what Big Bear specializes in. And NuWave, who's a contractor for the government, they said, oh, we got to acquire these guys and their technology. And that's what you find is you see a lot of these companies, they'll come up with a solution and then they get swallowed up by the larger contractors.
Yes.
And then they just come back and then they just repackage everything under their own brand and sell it back to the government.
But I think especially when you look at these large defense budgets and then you look at these companies that are coming in there, I mean, I get it. You know, I mean, like you said, it's sensitive information. And we had done a whole podcast, if you remember, on the government doing a big push to go to the cloud.
Yeah, to move records into digital.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think they're wanting to do that by next year, right?
Yeah, they're trying to make that push. But this is like a separate part of the government. This is like NSA where everything already is digital. And how do we continue to protect it, right? So it's inefficient really to house your own servers. It's extremely costly. And when you use a cloud system, you can do it in a very decentralized manner. It's more efficient to, sustain all that information collecting and analysis. So they're doing their own transitions away from, in-house servers to be like, how do we manage this in a cloud format so that we can offload a lot of that cost onto someone else, but still, keep our security, protocols very high. Yeah.
We have the Space Force, that we created and stuff. And I heard some of it's coming to New Mexico. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
But we almost need like a cyber force.
They do have a cyber force. If you look at a lot of the jobs that are like trending for the Air Force and everything, it's about that sort of cyber defense. Because that is really the future. Think about in the 40s, right? During like the Pacific Theater and things of that nature. What was that encryption computer that the Germans were using?
Oh yeah. I watched that movie. It was The Imitation Game.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Absolutely great film. But what's the important point here? It was like, how is it that we protect information in transit? Nothing has changed since the 40s other than the fact that things are digital.
Yes.
Nothing's changed.
I mean, we were
collecting information over an AM waveband. But apart from that, it's been pen and paper. So it's like, how do we, again, just continue to protect information if it's sitting in a new type of house? That is the full gist of it. So a lot of this technology, this spending, these acquisitions are happening around how do we acquire people that are very forward looking on, data security.
And globally, when we look at it, there are bad, if you want to use the word bad, there are bad people.
There's bad actors.
Yes.
Always.
That are wanting to take this data and use it for harm.
Yeah. And you got to think about it. If you're the NSA, you're naturally a target. If you're a big data collector, you're a natural target. People are going to want to look to that. They're going to want to see, do their penetration testing. Can we get in? What sort of free information can we kind of scrape from your servers? Do you have a leak in one of your security standards? And so that's why these acquisitions, that's why NuWave pays so much money to get this, because it costs less in the acquisition than the cost of that information actually getting leaked. And that's how they view that risk analysis, right? If we pay a couple billion here, that's a lot less than, someone getting their hands on information in another country that they absolutely should not have their hands on.
Yeah, you don't want like operatives or being, let's say a special forces team or something being found out with all their information, where they live, where their families,
or somebody was analyzing the, training records of special forces in certain areas.
Yes.
Right. And if you got on the server, you're like, ooh, look what they've been doing. Like, it reminds me of that time they had, you remember Strava? Mm-hmm. Well, all these special forces guys were like, well, why is there a camp up in like the Arctic? Why am I watching like groups of people like running around here? And the Strava data was public, right? And so these are like these basic leaks. So we're doing everything we can now to prevent that sort of information from getting out there, because something so simple can give away so much.
Yes.
Right. So when you look at these acquisitions and this big spending, the future is going to be that sort of spending. As like, how do you protect information again, now that it's in a fully digital format? We had, analog encryption machines for encrypting and decrypting code. And now we just have, digital formats doing that. We have currencies that specifically work on encryption standards.
Yes.
Right? Like Bitcoin or Dogecoin or Litecoin.
Yes. And speaking of Dogecoin.
Right? So if we look at the basis of our future is a basis pretty much of security encryption, because there's just going to be so much information out there.
I love that. Well, speaking of protecting data and privacy, I want to make sure that people understand when they're submitting their data packets, when they're signing up for TARTLE.co, how concerned are you with privacy?
So we are, that is like a major concern, because this is very personally identifiable information. So we also follow the same, they're called PCI standards. So like even when you're storing things like credit card numbers, there's certain ways that those need to be stored in a system. So we not only do the best practices and standards that are required that these other companies are using in the financial sector, but on top of that, we have outside third parties do penetration testing and all these other things in the system to make sure it's completely buttoned up and protected. And we never have any control over your information. You're the only person that can handle that.
And you're anonymous.
Yeah. So you're anonymous, right? So if somebody was in there, there's no number saying, oh, like that is this, this person.
This is Troy Jason Rigby.
No. So like even when you sign up on TARTLE, you'll see your encrypted name that comes in. It's a hash.
Right.
Right. And that's what you are. But when you sell your information, you choose how much you want to give up. You choose how much you want to be identified.
Yeah. And that's our whole philosophy of free will.
Yeah. That's your choice. It's your free will. And you should always have that.
Yeah. I love that. Well, I wanted to kind of address this, and then I wanted to address the privacy issue with TARTLE, because I know there was a couple comments out there. People were worried about if they, sell a data packet, how are they being protected?
No. And as they should be. And so you have to remember, right? Anything you put online on the internet, it's on the internet.
Yes. Facebook has it.
The NSA has it. Somebody got it.
Yeah. Somebody got it. Yep.
So if you're going to start selling information through the TARTLE marketplace that's identifiable about you, just be aware of what you're giving up. We give you the choice. Right. You don't have to give up the full kit and caboodle, everything, right? You can choose, okay, I only want to do 20% of me, 30%, 40, 50%. And then that's, you have a difference in compensation depending on how much you actually want to give up that's identifiable to you. But just remember, once you send it, it's gone. Right. That's just what it is, You can't come back and get it. It's like once it's put out there on those servers, right, to the free world after you let control of it go.
But I mean, we don't, and I know we've got to close this, but and I want you to speak to this last thing. We're giving away our data for free anyways. Yeah, all the time.
Someone had said,
how many of us read the accept all cookies?
Yeah, button? we have users in the Philippines, right? Right. And you were talking to me that they were talking about, well, it's like, we're worried about signing up for new stuff and giving up our information. You're giving so much information to Facebook right now. Right. What are you worried about us? We're trying to protect your information and help you monetize it. So it's interesting to see sort of the emotional triggers that people who use the TARTLE marketplace and people who are thinking about using the TARTLE marketplace. It's an educational thing.
Yeah, I love that. And everyone, they can go to TARTLE.co, sign up. We encourage you to do that. Be a part of the movement.
Yeah. And you can, feel rock steady that we do everything to make sure your information is protected with the absolute best possible
Wasn't
standards.
that a Bobby Brown song? Rock steady.
Rock steady. Yeah.
We better close.
See you later.
Thank you for listening to TARTLEcast with your hosts Alexander McKegg and Jason Rigby, where humanity steps into the future and source data defines the path. What's your data worth?